So, welcome to the deep dive. This is the place where we take all that information you send our way, the memos, the articles, all of it, and we try to boil it all down to what really matters.
And today we are going deep, deep inside the really toxic heart of British intelligence. It's a world where, professional failure doesn't just get you a bad review. It gets you a desk in this decrepit, hated office called Slough House.
Right. But the thing is, sometimes those failures, those slow horses, as they're called, they end up being closer to the biggest, darkest secrets than anyone at headquarters.
Yeah, closer than the top agents at Regent's Park, or just the park as it's known.
Absolutely. So our mission for you is to connect three really complex threads that are all crashing into each other. First, you've got River Cartwright trying to figure out the secret legacy of his grandfather, the OB.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's this decades-old, politically just explosive black op called Pitchfork. And pulling all the strings, or trying to, is first desk Diana Taverner. She's in this desperate fight for her own survival against her enemies, and she's using everyone and everything she can, including her own agents, who she sees as totally expendable.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? What the sources really suggest is that in this world, knowledge, when you know how to use it, is the most volatile asset there is. I mean, we're literally seeing what happens when an old a physical recording of a huge institutional sin gets dug up.
And it's being weaponized by everyone, by the powerless old guys and by the ruthless people at the very top.
It's an absolute powder keg.
The stage is really set for a full day of chaos, political maneuvering, and, well, assassination. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the people living on what the sources call Spook Street's landfill.
To really get the stakes here, you have to start with the reality of Slough House. I mean, it's not just an office.
No.
It's an exile. It's the service's way of taking agents who failed or been disgraced or just don't fit in with the politics of the park and just parking them there until they disappear.
The imagery in the source material is just so grim and perfect. It's called the dark side of Narnia. Always winter, never Christmas. The agents there, the slow horses, they're all damaged, they're exiled, and they're just trapped in this kind of professional purgatory.
Yeah, and it's a financial one, too. They're suffocated. The whole point is to make them quit.
But they can't.
They can't. Take Lech Brzezinski. His job is just the definition of professional torture. It's not spying.
Not even close.
He actually inherited it from River Cartwright after after the Novichok incident.
And it's worth pausing on that. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know the context of that specific nerve agent, the fact that a British agent was targeted with Novichok just tells you everything about the lethality and the high political stakes of the enemies they're dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just poison, it's a message.
It's a statement.
And so Leach's new job is designed to just crush your soul. He has to cross-check these huge amounts of public data, electoral rolls, census data, council tax bills, utilities.
All to find empty houses.
Right. To find properties that look occupied but are actually empty. The idea is, maybe you spot a safe house for bad actors, but the reality of the work is it's impossible. It's tedious. It's meant to just burn out whatever is left of their professional spirit.
And you can feel his despair. He feels like he's in this professional halfway state. He's struggling to pay for a rented flat that swallowed most of his salary. And his face, it's described as looking like someone had played noughts and crosses on the same grid. He's physically scarred by it all.
And he's trapped. He can't quit because he knows the service would ruin any future reference. They'd just drop a hint about dodgy online activities.
Which is their way of ensuring you stay loyal forever, through fear.
It's just institutional cruelty, really, but it's disguised as paperwork. The sources say he stares at a frozen computer screen for 13 minutes, just unable to scroll.
Is that his IT, or is that just a metaphor for his entire life?
I think it's both. It's a perfect picture of how Slough House just grinds you down bit by bit. Their skills are just left to rot.
And then, in complete contrast to Leach's misery, you have the bizarre and delusional optimism of Roddy Ho.
Roddy. He's not a horse, he's a hummingbird. That's how he's described. Compact, powerful, super intelligent. He is a technical genius, a real data warrior.
But his social skills are lacking.
Lacking is a kind word. His genius is matched only by his incredible self-delusion, especially about his social life and his new tattoo.
Oh, the tattoo. He's so excited about it. He says it's great art, and it's going to kick off his hot girl summer.
And the reveal is just a catastrophe. His colleagues, Shirley, Louisa, Leach, Ash, they have no idea what it is.
I think someone said it was a platypus.
Yeah.
Or a sheep with 5 legs.
Shirley's final verdict was an upside-down dung beetle. Then she just tells them because it's shit.
Is brutal.
And this contrast is so important. Roddy is the one dealing with all the memos from Regent's Park about social media use. He's a big Kanye fan on X, but he can't read a single person in the room with him. He could probably dismantle a country's infrastructure from his keyboard, but he's just stuck in this exile.
And while the guys are dealing with frozen screens and terrible tattoos, Louisa Guy is at a real turning point. She's seriously thinking about leaving Slough House for good.
She's finally accepted that her exile is permanent. It's not a temporary posting. This is it.
Right. It's tied to her past mistakes, right? The death of her partner, Min, and everything that happened after. The drinking, the strangers.
Yeah, and now she's mulling over this offer from an old colleague from the park, Devin Wells. He was close to Emma Flight, who died. He's in personal protection services now.
Which sounds glamorous, but he basically says it's managing home life for rich bastards.
But it's good money. High 5 figures. It's a way out, a clean break. Financial comfort that might, take the edge off the pain she's still carrying around.
And the psychology of it is fascinating. The source material notes that she realizes the weight of actually saying the words out loud, "I'm leaving." After Min died, her life just stopped. And deciding to leave is like deciding to finally turn the page.
It's an act of defining herself outside of the service's orbit, which has been so toxic for her.
And then the man himself returns. River Cartwright. He's the original cause of so much chaos at Slough House, and he's back from the dead, basically.
Pretty much. He survived a 9-day induced coma after being hit with what they call the mad bastard variety of Novichok. He's lost an entire winter, he's weak, he can't concentrate.
But coming so close to death seems to have, simplified things for him. He's finding joy in just being alive.
Breathing, for example, is what the source says.
Yeah. And he's sharing this new life with Sid Baker, who is also near death after being shot in the head. They're both back. It's like a literal resurrection for these two agents the service had completely written off.
But even after all that, River's core belief in himself is still there. He thinks Diana Taverner, the first desk, is far too canny an operator to deprive herself of a talented agent. He's convinced his exile is temporary.
He still thinks he's a vital asset.
He does. He thinks he just needs to get his strength back, and she'll call him back in.
And that is his big delusion, isn't it? He sees himself as a key player, but to Taverner, he's just a pawn on the board, a piece she can move around and, if necessary, sacrifice.
Absolutely. And his investigation into his grandfather, David Cartwright, the OB, is about to put him right back in her path.
Which brings us to the next section, the hunt for this non-existent book and the discovery of a hidden tape.
So River's investigation starts off looking like a pretty simple academic quest. He goes to Oxford to go through his grandfather's library, which was donated to a college that focuses on Russian studies.
And the OB, the old bastard, he was a legend in the service, right? The old school of spycraft.
The absolute old school. His whole philosophy was spying is other people. He worked through networks, not databases. Everything he did was cryptic, meant to be read backwards. So nothing he left behind is ever what it seems on the surface.
He first meets up with Erin Gray there. She used to be Taverner's assistant.
Right, and she wisely got out of the park. She says she's had enough to do with them to see me through the rest of my life.
Smart woman.
Very. And she spotted something on an old video River had of the OB's study, a book called The Secret Voices, with an author nobody can trace. And now that book is missing from the collection in Oxford.
The classic missing book trope. But the reality is a little more banal, but also way more dangerous.
It is. River tracks down a retired agent named Charles Cornell Stammeran, or CC, who worked with his grandfather. And CC finally admits the book was never a book.
It was a box.
A box of some sort, or what they used to call a safe. And right away, that confirms the OB's sense of theatricality, right? Hiding the key to a massive institutional secret in plain sight on a bookshelf.
But what's really incredible is the cover story they used to protect it for all those years.
It's brilliantly simple. Stammeran just claimed it was full of dirty pictures, pornography.
So the idea was it was just some embarrassing personal secret, nothing worth looking into.
Exactly. And River's reaction is what's so telling. He immediately rejects it. He says his grandfather would never have sullied his library with porn.
His faith in the OB is absolute.
It is. And that's when River has the key insight. It's counterintuitive. If the OB hid something among his books, it wasn't to keep it hidden forever. It was because he wanted it found.
Just not by the wrong people. And not too soon.
And what he hid was, as you said, a ticking political bomb. C.C. Stammeran finally tells him the safe contained a secret recording of the meeting that authorized Operation Pitchfork.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second. The operational context here is huge. This meeting was classified Mozart level.
Which was the highest classification at the time. We're talking about the most sensitive political and national security stuff, and that classification meant zero paper trail.
No minutes, no transcripts, no record of who was even there.
Nothing. The fact that this recording even exists proves that David Cartwright basically committed an act of political treason. He recorded his own superiors to create leverage for the future.
And the tape captured everyone. Stammeran lists the attendees: Charles Partner, who was first desk then, David Cartwright himself, a government minister, the cabinet secretary, and lawyers.
The very top of the British government and the intelligence service.
So the leverage is massive. But the actual subject of Pitchfork is what's so horrifying. The operation was all about a man named Dougie Malone.
Who CC just flat out calls a psychopath. Malone was an asset for the British service, but he was also an active IRA member.
So you have that utilitarian calculation, right? The kind Taverner would probably defend. Malone helped get 34 terrorists arrested. He probably saved dozens, maybe hundreds of lives.
Sure. From one perspective, he was an invaluable asset in the fight against terrorism.
But the moral cost
Was immeasurable, because under the service's protection, Malone was running his own nutting squad. He was indulging in torture and murder and rape, and the service just looked the other way because the intelligence he provided was so good.
And the sources get into the specific, grotesque method he used for executions. It just shows you the level of depravity the service was willing to ignore. They called it the full melon effect.
It's stomach-turning. He would wedge the victim's head between a concrete block and the wheel of a Land Rover Defender. The victim was tied up but not gagged, so the killer had to watch their panic right up to the end when their memories were crushed like salt.
Just brutal. And he used this method on 2 IRA members, Stephen Regan and Bernard Dougherty.
And then, in this almost perfect piece of karmic justice, Malone himself is found dead in his garage 15 years later, murdered using the exact same technique.
An act CC thinks was carried out by Malone's old comrades.
So, the knowledge on that tape, the proof that the British establishment protected, funded, and covered up the crimes of this monster, that's what connects the past directly to the present. And C.C. Stammeran, now that he has this proof, decides it's time for some payback.
Right. Which leads to this reunion of the Brains Trust.
Yeah, as soon as he has the tape, CC gets his old team back together. They called themselves the Brains Trust. It's him, Averill Potts, Al, and Daisy. They were the 4 agents assigned to handle Malone.
And these people suffered a kind of professional death after Pitchfork fell apart. They were made into pariahs. Their careers, their finances, everything was destroyed.
Their exile was much, much worse than Slough House. I mean, the sources really detail the human cost. Al had to sell his fishing gear just to buy a winter coat.
Averill had to take in a lodger.
And Daisy lived in a gutter for 18 months. The sources say she suffered most and is still paying for it. You can just feel the desperation when they all meet in this rundown safe house. Averill says it reminds her of the GDR.
So their loyalty to each other is basically forged in this shared catastrophic failure.
Absolutely. And for CC, that tape is his opportunity to achieve redress. He's not after justice, not really. He wants money, compensation for the life they ruined. So he decides to extort the park.
Sends a simple, anonymous demand from a public library computer.
And this is where you see the difference between these desperate old-timers and someone like Diana Taverner, the apex predator. Her response is immediate. It's ruthless. It's perfectly calculated.
How quickly does she find him?
She traces the sender, a former agent leaving the public library from CCTV footage, within 5 minutes of the email being sent. 5 minutes.
Wow. She doesn't even have to do the work herself. She has people who follow orders and then forget they ever got them. She just immediately dismisses CC as a pensioner and a chancer. She knows he has no real operational ability left.
But the first place the fallout lands is, of course, Slough House. It just reinforces this theme of how malicious the system is. Jackson Lamb, the boss of the Slow Horses, tells Louisa that Taverner is officially firing River Cartwright.
The official reason being that he won't pass the medical because of the Novichok. Future liability and all that.
Right. Plausible deniability. But Lamb saw the truth. He saw Taverner's actual instruction to the medical officer, which was simply bin him.
And that move reveals Taverner's strategic mind, doesn't it? By firing River, she gets two things.
Exactly. First, the service is no longer liable for the Novichok attack, and second, it makes River open to persuasion for some off-book dodgy task. He's no longer an official agent, so anything he does is deniable.
And we see that play out almost immediately when she goes to find Sid Baker, River's partner.
Who's also recovering from her own major injuries. Taverner meets her on the South Bank, somewhere with no cameras. Sid is the perfect go-between because she's also a deniable asset, stuck on medical leave.
Taverner tells her she won't order a hard stop, an execution.
Right. But the message she sends to Cece is a clear insult. She's not taking this seriously. She has Sid deliver a burner phone and an envelope with just £1,000 in it.
And Cece was expecting, what, a life-changing sum of money.
He had a larger sum in mind, for sure, not this petty cash. Taverner is deliberately provoking him. She's treating this existential threat like a minor annoyance, and that's her first big mistake.
Even Sid, as compromised as she is, warns Cece. She tells him that by trying to blackmail them, he's actually given Taverner leverage.
Yeah, she basically says, look, if Taverner wanted you dead, she wouldn't have sent me. She'd have sent something lethal.
So now Cece thinks he's in a negotiation.
He does. But really, he's just confirmed his identity and location, and now he's an asset that Taverner needs to neutralize to keep the whole system from imploding.
And this all ties back to Louise's decision, doesn't it? She sees this happening and realizes that taking that private sector job is her only real way out. She sees what happens when you get pulled back into the Parks games.
She sees Taverner using the Brains Trust as a dry run for how she might eventually clean up Slough House.
Which leads us to the real target and the absolute carnage at a place called Knob Knobs.
Right. While Cece is thinking this is all about his extortion attempt, Louisa Guy sees the bigger picture. She has a much clearer idea of what Taverner's really after. The goal isn't just getting the tape back.
It's about getting rid of Peter Judd.
Her bête noire, exactly. Judd is this disgraced politician who's always causing trouble for her. He'd previously set up a firefight thing with a tiger team against Taverner, which caused her a lot of problems.
And now he's leveraging something new against her, something to do with Chinese-backed political operations. It's a direct threat to her job as first desk.
And Judd's motivation is just pure ego. I mean, despite being out of power, he has this unwavering belief in his innate superiority. He thinks his resignation just gave him a license to proclaim how important he is.
He needs to get back in the game, and taking down Taverner is how he thinks he can do it.
So this political chess match is the real reason Lamb, who's being manipulated by Taverner, gives River a very specific mission.
Transport Peter Judd to a meeting.
Yep. River doesn't want to do it, but his loyalty is to his friends, to Louisa and Ash, who are now caught up in this, so he agrees.
And at the same time, Roddy Ho, our hummingbird, gets the mission he was born for.
He gets to shut down all the CCTV cameras in the area of the meeting. It's a brilliant move by Lamb, actually, using Roddy's skills perfectly.
Roddy is all in. He's driving his Ford Kia, ready to smash the camera, blind the streets, and let Lamb's plan unfold. For him, this is finally real operational work. It's proving the slow horses can still bite.
But back with the Brains Trust, things are falling apart. C.C. Stammeran feels insulted by the tiny payoff, and he's spoofed by how fast Taverner found him. He decides negotiation is over.
He thinks killing Judd is the only way to protect himself and his team from whatever Taverner is planning.
Yeah, he thinks it's the only way to protect them from her inevitable and brutal retaliation. So he grabs Al's gun and heads for Knob Knobs, this closed nightclub in Shoreditch where Judd is supposed to meet River.
And the irony is that C.C., the old spy, has gotten so sloppy. He even admits to himself that he's leaving a trail an infant could follow. His desperation has just completely overridden his training.
And at the same time, the slow horses have figured it out. They realize Taverner is setting up the Brains Trust as expendables. She wants them to kill Judd so she can clean up both problems at once.
So they all pile into a car and race to the nightclub. The source says it's so packed it looks like a clown car.
Which is just a perfect metaphor, isn't it? The clowns of the service, literally in a clown car, racing to stop a political assassination.
And the second they get there, it's just total chaos.
Yeah.
River and Louisa are immediately jumped by two of the park's security guys, the dogs.
And River, even though he's still weak from the Novichok, he manages to assault one of them just to create a diversion and get away.
And the second dog runs right into Ash Khan,
who's climbing a rusty fire escape to get inside. And Ash, I mean, he proves his reflexes are still sharp. He confronts this guy and sends him flying backwards through a toilet window.
The sound is described as audible confetti of shattering glass. It's a brutal move, but what Ash does next is so important.
It is. After taking out a park operative, he stops what he's doing and calls an ambulance for the guy. It's this small moment of humanity that really separates the slow horses from the absolute ruthlessness of the park.
And inside the club, it all comes to a head. Cece has the gun on Judd. Avril and Al are trying to talk him down, saying they don't want to be part of a murder.
And then the room is just flooded with light. Ash, having dealt with a dog, has found the light switches.
And in that one moment, Ash makes this split-second choice. He dives at Cece, trying to pull Judd out of the way, just as Al fires the gun.
And Ash takes the bullet, right in the chest.
The source material is just so blunt about it. You had to be fast to outrun a bullet. You had to be fast indeed.
Ash, the slow horse, moved faster than any of Taverner's cleaners ever could have. And in that same instant, Cece Stammerin has a massive stroke. He just falls, and his life is just counting down.
It's a total bloodbath.
Huh.
Louisa ends up punching Daisy. River arrives and gets control of the situation. The aftermath is just grim. Ash is critical, rushed to the hospital. Cece is dying.
But the single most important detail, the one that sets up everything that happens next, is that the gun which belongs to Taverner is on the floor, loose, before someone picks it up.
And that one fact is the linchpin for the entire final act.
This whole mess is just the direct result of Taverner deciding to use these desperate people as tools to solve a political problem, which in turn forced the slow horses into this messy, misguided, but ultimately moral attempt to be heroes.
So while Ash is fighting for his life and Cece is dying, Jackson Lamb is playing his own endgame. And he's relying on his clowns to do it.
Roddy Ho, the hummingbird, comes through. He pulls off his technical masterpiece, taking out 37 CCTV cameras in the area. He blinded the streets right when Lamb needed it most.
And River, following his orders, delivers Peter Judd to Taverner's anonymous flat on Calthorpe Street. Black door, no name.
And Lamb is already there. He's disabled the alarm and is just sitting there waiting like King Frog.
He's not there to help with the meeting. He's there to blow Taverner's entire plan up. He tells Judd that Taverner is stuck at work and that he's there to talk about her.
Yeah.
He says, she tried to knock you off your perch last night.
And Judd, ever the politician, doesn't even flinch. He just switches straight into negotiation mode. He offers Lamb compensation to make sure Taverner stays in power.
Because his backers want her there.
Exactly. He says Taverner is where my backers want her to be. To Judd, this whole thing, the blackmail, the assassination attempt, it's all just business, the art of the deal.
While this is happening, Taverner is playing her own trump card. She's meeting with the Prime Minister, who is ready to fire her over the Knob Knobs disaster.
Yeah, the optics are terrible. 1 dead, 3 hospitalized, all with park connections. It's a political nightmare.
The PM, who has his own credibility problems, just tells her to resign. But Taverner doesn't argue about Knob Knobs. She pulls out the microcassette tape.
Right, and she realizes in that moment that Cece Stammerin never even understood the full power of what he had.
It's not just that the tape confirms Pitchfork existed, it's who else is on it.
It captures the Prime Minister, back when he was a young lawyer, talking about the logistics of protecting Dougie Malone. Specifically, he's on tape worrying about inflation-proofing the pension arrangement for a known rapist and murderer.
That's the peak of banal institutional evil, isn't it? It's not the murder that's the problem, it's the paperwork. The fact that he was fussing over the pension of a psychopath.
And Taverner just weaponizes it instantly. She tells the PM that when the public hears him fretting about pension arrangements for a psychopath, his government is finished. It will be a total uproar.
She forces his hand. She says, I run a shop for serious people. I'm not only the best person for the job, I'm the only one who knows how to do it.
And her ultimate justification is always the same. Stability.
Oh.
To stop buses being bombed.
So Taverner wins her battle with the PM. She secures her job, for now. But while she's doing that, Lamb is already moving against her. He meets Catherine Standish in a graveyard, of all places.
A very symbolic choice. He's been visiting David Cartwright's headstone.
And he tells Catherine that she is leaving the service. But then he reveals his real motivation, the reason for what he's about to do. He says, you're the reason she needs burying at all, Diana.
He blames Taverner for everything. He says she used his clowns as rubber gloves for her dirty work, knowing they'd just be thrown away in the cleanup.
Then he tells Catherine, I'm going to burn her fucking house down.
And his motive here isn't revenge, and it's not about high politics. It's about protection. He knows that Taverner, having survived this, will now move to eliminate all the loose ends.
And the loose ends are the slow horses who showed up at Knob Knobs.
Exactly. To save his team, he has to remove the systemic threat. And that threat is Diana Taverner.
The final act is just swift and brutal. Right after Lamb leaves the flat where Judd is still waiting, an anonymous tip goes to the Metropolitan Police about a violent event at Taverner's home.
The police show up at her house, and they find Peter Judd's body in her sitting room. He's been shot dead with a gun from Taverner's own secure safe.
The same gun that was loose on the floor at Knob Knobs. It's the perfect frame-up. Using her weapon in her home, Lamb has orchestrated it perfectly.
And Taverner's arrested, looking almost unnaturally calm. And this is the final brilliant move on her part. She's holding microcassette tape in her hand, out in the open.
So even as she's being arrested, she's making sure she still has leverage. The system can't just make her disappear now, not without risking the tape getting out.
The political fallout is immediate. The PM and the security minister, Dominic Bellwether, are discussing the scandal. A former Home Secretary shot dead by a gun belonging to First Desk in First Desk's home. Their first thought isn't about justice.
It's about containment.
Containment. They have to make sure the investigation doesn't uncover anything about Pitchfork, anything that could damage the government, especially now that the tape is officially in play.
And then, showing you how the system just keeps grinding on, the PM tells Bellwether to find a reliable replacement for First Desk. Even a political assassination orchestrated by the head of Slough House is, in the end, just a management problem for them to solve.
So we started this deep dive with River trying to understand his grandfather's past, and we ended with Jackson Lamb creating this incredibly lethal present just to protect the future of his own disgraced agents.
And the fate of the slow horses really proves Taverner's philosophy was right, in a way. Ash is seriously injured, Cece's dead, River is still fired, Louisa is finally leaving. They really were expendable assets.
Rubber gloves. Taverner's whole plan to get rid of Judd, who was using that Chinese-backed operation against her, it just backfired and forced Lamb's hand. He didn't kill Judd out of revenge.
No. He murdered Judd using Taverner's own gun and her own safe specifically to frame her. It was the only way to remove the one person who could and would have destroyed Slough House completely in the cleanup. Lamb might call them useless, but he pulled off the spectacular, fatal move just to protect them.
And Taverner always argued that the service's highest priority is simple: to stop buses being bombed. She was willing to protect a psychopath, sacrifice her own agents to maintain that stability. But in the end, it was Jackson Lamb, the ultimate cynic and protector of failures, who chose to tear down the leadership just to protect his clowns.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought for you to consider. If the whole truth about the past, the PM's role with Malone's pension, the full story of Pitchfork, is still on that tape that Taverner was carrying, and now she's been neutralized.
Yeah.
How long before that leverage gets used again? If exposing all that moral rot from the past destroys the system's ability to protect the present, is ignorance sometimes the terrible price we pay for security?
And maybe more importantly, if Jackson Lamb has just proven that he's the most effective operative in the entire service by taking out its most powerful leader, who's really running the show now, and who gets to decide what is justifiable next?